Alright everyone, welcome back to My Pagan Life, and of course to a new episode of A Bit of a Rant. Okay, I'm Wiccan, which technically means I'm also a pagan. But what does that really mean? That's actually a really good question. Let's go explore it together. I'm slightly worried that this video will turn into an academic essay, so let's try to keep it balanced. The topic for today's video is being a pagan in today's day and age, which you can already tell from the title, I suppose. I could of course go on talking about what it is I literally do as a pagan. I could go on and talk about how other people perceive me as a pagan, considering the time and place, but that is not what I'm going to do in this video. Instead, I'd like to touch on something that is much more fundamental. What does it actually mean to be a pagan in the context of the modern world? How is it actually possible? In order to answer that question properly, we need to take a look at what it means to be a pagan in general. So, a bit of background. Paganism, as we know it today, has its roots in what I would at least call pre-Christian religions, or maybe there's a better term for it, actually, but yeah. In other words, the religious and spiritual practices that predate Christianity. They are usually characterized by polytheism and, you guessed it, their interaction and connection with and to nature. And of course, we need a definition. The way in which I would define paganism is probably the same way in which most modern pagans these days would also define it, as a so-called umbrella term encompassing many different nature-based spiritualities and religions. One of the fairly recent ones, and probably most debated ones, being Wicca. But here comes a question. What do we actually know about paganism before the 21st century? Oh, you know, the real, original paganism. I am no expert, and since this is a bit of a rant after all, I'm not gonna say much on the issue, but I am going to say what I think I know. We know a bit. We know something, but we know very little for certain. We know of some mythology, we know of some customs, some traditions, and a little bit about how some early civilizations may have operated. But again, how sure can we actually be? So what are we left with? Well, we have to make do with bits and pieces that we merge together to create a larger understanding of it all. But honestly, considering the complexity of history, we know very little. That's sad. So, this doesn't really make anything easier, does it? Oh, but come on, there has to be a way this works. I mean, paganism is still a thing, right? Surely there must be something that makes it possible to be a pagan. Well, yeah. The best thing we can do, in my opinion, is to take what we know and use it to the extent that suits us so that we can learn more about it in the future. My experience is that we live in a world that has distanced itself from paganism. This is due to a lot of things. For example, other bigger religions taking up a lot more space and, you know, the history that goes along with that. The concepts, ideas, and traditions of those other bigger religions have really managed to seep into cultures and societies worldwide. However, what we have been seeing now is the return of paganism, or dare I say, rebirth of paganism. Now, I'm not saying this because paganism hasn't existed during this long period of time, but because it is finally blooming. It is once again making itself known to the world as a fresh concept, and it is actually gaining acceptance and acknowledgement more and more by the day. This is, of course, a bit of a process. I don't think we can expect to see paganism reaching its fullest potential quite yet. In fact, as with most major changes, I think it may take a while. And it certainly doesn't help that A, paganism is something we really don't know much about anyway, and B, paganism is definitely going to be continued to be challenged in the future, not only by major religions and schools of thought that are very influential today, but also by the pure advancement of technology. Ever since I started identifying myself as a pagan, knowing what I know about paganism and its roots, I started to feel the longing within me. My longing to connect with and understand my heritage better. I find myself wondering every now and then, what was it like back then? My ancestors, whether they have lived 100 years back or 1,000 years back, how did they make it in the world? And, you know, most of all, what has all of this got to do with the way I wish to identify and live my life? The fact of the matter is, as we've already discussed, none of these questions are easy to answer. Well, at least they're easy to answer to varying degrees. But to me, paganism is about putting my life, my entire existence, into perspective. It's about using what I know about the past to better understand myself today and to improve my life as a whole. As a pagan, I feel more connected to the world around me, and I feel like I'm able to see the bigger picture a little bit more clearly. But that's not all. While it is about those things, acknowledging the past and being here, being focused on the present, recognizing how far the world has come, and being aware of what may lie ahead of us is just as important. Basically, we should look ahead, not dwell on the past, but use the past as a way to better our lives, both now and in the future. I know all of this may sound a bit abstract and difficult to discuss properly, but let's try to have this conversation, alright? Because I think it will help us in our paths and practices and lifestyles to further understand this question. What does it actually mean to be a pagan in today's day and age? And guys, this is why I don't really like the notion that in order to be a pagan, you have to do what your ancestors did, that you have to adopt concepts and practices and ideas from times gone by. Some concepts remain constant. That's true, in many ways, but paganism is not one of them. At least in my opinion. The world has moved on since the first time paganism saw the light of day. We have developed so much since then. Societal structures have changed, laws have changed, you name it. We live in a world of globalization where lifestyles and goods alike are being exported and imported. If we all wish to keep paganism alive in our modern societies, in our modern age and world, we have to acknowledge that paganism must fit into that context. There's either that, or we have to be willing to acknowledge that paganism isn't really a thing anymore, and we may have to call it something else. So, what does it mean to be a pagan in the context of the modern world? How is it even possible? Well, here's what I wish to leave you guys with. Given that we choose to continue calling our beliefs and practices pagan, make the most of it. Use it to give meaning to your life and to put it into perspective. Maybe you'll be called to learn more about your past, ancestry, heritage, and if so, heed that call. Or if a voice from deep within tries to tell you to learn something new and to add that to your spiritual path or just your path, then be inspired. Do what feels right. Don't feel pressured by any unreasonable expectations or by the long, long history that we barely know. I think respecting where we come from and what our ancestors may or may not have experienced is important, but we can't let that stop us from creating our own lives for ourselves, of our own volition, and on our own terms. Whether you agree or disagree, make sure to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. And tell me, what are your thoughts on what it's like being a pagan in the 21st century? How does society and technology affect the way you practice? And how do you view history? Is it something that enriches your life and practice, or is it something that holds you back? And no matter what it may be, why is it so? And with that said, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos on Wicca, paganism, and witchcraft, here on My Pagan Life. I'll be publishing a new poll on my channel really soon, so make sure to let me know what you guys want to see next. I can never get enough of these videos, especially these a bit of a rant videos, and I'm equally happy that you guys seem to like them so much. And until next time, guys, blessed be from My Pagan Life. See you later!